Coming up on this Thursday edition of Daybreak, in a likely response to South Korea's decision to pay insurance claims to the South's firms hurt by the Gaeseong factory zone suspension, North Korea breaks its silence by answering the South's offer for talks. The two Koreas will meet next Wednesday. For the first time, the Japanese government has admitted some 300 tons of highly radioactive water from the quake-ravaged Fukushima nuclear plant is leaking into the ocean every day. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe orders his administration to help plant operator TEPCO deal with the crisis. Plus, in diplomatic retaliation for Moscow's granting of asylum to U.S. intelligence whistleblower Edward Snowden, U.S. President Barack Obama calls off a summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin that was due to be held next month. Daybreak begins now.
You're watching Daybreak on Thursday, August 8th, and I'm Choi Yusan here in Seoul. We begin with news of a possible breakthrough over the two Koreas' shuttered Gaeseong Industrial Complex. In a sudden turn of events, Seoul and Pyongyang have agreed to hold a seventh round of dialogue aimed at reopening the joint business park. Our Hwang Sung-hee has the details on Pyongyang's return to talks.
The two Koreas will return to the negotiating table next Wednesday in Gaeseong for another shot at reopening their jointly run factory zone in the north. This comes after North Korea unexpectedly broke its silence Wednesday, more than a week after South Korea made its final proposal for talks on the Gaeseong Industrial Complex. In a statement, the North state-run Korean Central News Agency said that both countries should work together to prevent another closure of the complex in the future. It also said it will lift the temporary ban on South Korean workers entering the complex, which was put into effect in April, and promised safe passage to all South Koreans going in. Seoul was quick to respond, saying that it evaluates North Korea's latest statement as positive.
We hope to resolve the issues surrounding the Gaeseong Industrial Complex and to reach a logical agreement on its normalization at our upcoming meeting.
Operations at the joint business park came to a halt 4 months ago when the North unilaterally withdrew all North Korean workers amid an escalation in inter-Korean tensions. In an attempt to revive their last remaining symbol of economic cooperation, the two Koreas held 6 rounds of discussions last month, but failed to reach an agreement. Seoul has stressed that Pyongyang must provide safeguards against future closures before talks can resume, and there are concerns following Wednesday's statement that the North may not have changed its stance. South Korea's unification ministry didn't want to elaborate on the details of the North's offer, saying only that the issues will be discussed at next week's meeting. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
It seems Pyongyang may have ended its silence in response to Seoul's decision to start handing out insurance payments to South Korean companies that run factories at Gaeseong. An hour before the North's surprise statement, the South's Unification Ministry said it planned to pay out some $250 million in insurance claims to the more than 100 companies bruised by the 4-month-long shutdown. Once the firms pick up their money, their rights over their factories and assets at Gaeseong will be transferred to the government, a move that will take the business park one step closer to permanent closure. Even though the two Koreas have agreed to continue talks on the complex reopening, the insurance payment will be available starting today at the Export-Import Bank of Korea. Moving on to the political deadlock here in the South, the main opposition Democratic Party has flatly rejected President Park Geun-hye's proposed 5-way talks with leaders from both the ruling and opposition parties to end political wrangling. Instead, the DP reiterated its initial call for a 2-way meeting between its leader and the president. Our Oh Jin-ju reports.
The main opposition Democratic Party has officially rejected President Park Geun-hye's proposal for a 5-way dialogue with the leaders of the nation's ruling and opposition parties to resolve the current political gridlock in the parliament. Instead, at a press briefing Wednesday morning, it once again urged the presidential office of Cheongwade to accept its original proposal to hold one-on-one talks between the president and DP chairman Kim Han-gil. DP Chairman Kim also expressed his regret over the situation earlier in the day at the party's Supreme Council meeting, saying that it is hard for him to say that President Park recognizes the seriousness of the current political situation or has given sufficient consideration to a possible solution. Responding to the DP's refusal of his proposal, Cheongwade also voiced its regret. During a meeting with senior presidential secretaries, Presidential Chief of Staff Kim Ki-chun said that it is regrettable to see the DP rejecting the call for talks again, but added that Cheongwade will wait with the door to dialogue open. The ruling and opposition parties are locked in battle over a parliamentary probe into the spy agency's alleged involvement in last year's presidential election. However, they have agreed to call 29 people, including former National Intelligence Service Chief Won Se-hoon and former Seoul Police Chief Kim Yong-pan, for questioning. But the two sides are still sharply divided on the DP's demand to summon two ruling camp officials, Representative Kim Moo-sung of the Saenuri Party and Ambassador to China Kwon Young-se, for parliamentary hearings. The DP has accused the two of illegally obtaining a transcript of the 2007 Inter-Korean Summit from the NIS in order to use it against then-opposition presidential candidate Moon Jae-in ahead of last year's presidential election. Oh Jin-soo, Arirang News.
The Korean government is laying the groundwork to revamp the nation's property and real estate tax systems. During a ministerial meeting on Wednesday, Deputy Prime Minister Hyun Oh-seok said the government will soon confirm a reduction of the nation's real estate acquisition tax rate and examine ways to overhaul current property and real estate tax schemes. Officials hope the measure will stabilize the country's real estate market and help the economy recover in the second half of the year. Meanwhile, the government has decided against allowing duty-free shops at airport arrival terminals after a thorough review of the issue. Hyun said duty-free shops have caused congestion at arrival terminals and hurt duty-free shops outside the airports. Korea is a pretty technologically savvy society, so it might be of surprise to you to know that there's actually a dearth of software talent in the country. Unstable job security and notoriously low salaries discourage young people from pursuing this path. President Park Geun-hye has pledged to shake things up and make the industry more appealing. Our Yoo Li-an reports on how well it's going.
In Korea, the software industry is commonly referred to as the 4D industry: dirty, difficult, dangerous, and dreamless. While the country has a strong foothold in the manufacturing sector, the software industry remains underdeveloped and is one of the least popular industries for employment. The Korea Institute for Industrial Economics and Trade, in a report Wednesday, cited low pay as the main reason for the lack of interest, since small to mid-sized companies make up a large chunk of the software industry. Add that to the fact that the lifespan of software technology is relatively short, and the average retirement age for those in this industry is younger than in others. So it's no surprise that college students are opting to take different career paths. While the number of total college graduates has risen consistently over the past 4 years, graduates of those in software-related departments have slid by over 12%. If President Park Geun-hye's vision for a creative economy is to be realized, that needs to change. But no change seems imminent at this stage. For that reason, the Ministry of Science, ICT, and Future Planning has been under fire recently. The ministry earlier this year spoke of creating a separate government-organized entity to help boost the software industry by June, and it was also due to announce a plan to reform the software sector, but neither happened. That lack of progress is one reason Yoon Chang-bun, a renowned IT expert and the former chief of broadband service provider Hanaro Telecom, was recently named as Senior Secretary to Future Strategy. As the government continues to make adjustments, it remains to be seen when it will introduce solid measures to successfully nurture software talent in the near future. Yoo Li-an, Arirang News.
Korea may be one of the most advanced nations in the world, but when it comes to corruption, the country ranks poorly on the global scale. Kim Young-gil reports on how serious the problem is and how the government is committed to stamping it out.
Despite efforts to clean society up, Korea remains beset by a high corruption rate that has only seemed to increase over the years. Korea is now the most corrupt developed country in Asia, according to a poll of 2,000 foreign businessmen in Asia, sliding down the list for the last 10 years. Korea's image as a fair place to do business is in bad shape. The Hong Kong-based firm Political and Economic Risk Consultancy ranked Korea the 10th most corrupt out of 17 countries in Asia. The corruption index was 6.98 this year, the worst in 10 years. Many Koreans acknowledge that the country needs to make a serious effort to tackle the problem.
Corruption in Korea is very serious. I think it will never go away in my lifetime.
Korea should quickly enact an anti-corruption bill to eradicate corruption.
Experts say the main form of corruption in Korea is collusion between government officials and the major conglomerates, which exert a great deal of influence over the economy. Personal ties, kickbacks, and lobbying for tax breaks are deeply embedded in Korean society and have contributed to the country's high corruption rate, as have light punishments for people with money and power convicted on corruption charges.
The money talks too much. In other words, the presidential pardon should not be allowed. Everybody should be equal in front of law. So whether you are wealthy or not, law should be equal.
Now the government is stepping in to address the problem. Last week, the cabinet approved the nation's first anti-corruption bill in order to strengthen punishments for government officials accused of various irregularities.
We believe the anti-corruption bill will prevent public officials from accepting illegal favors, kickbacks, and carrying out duties related to their personal interest. The bill will help raise the Korean government's integrity.
The legislation will be submitted to the National Assembly for a vote this month. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
If you want the latest news from Korea and around the world.
Return to the negotiations.
President Park Geun-hye plans, given the current circumstances.
On your way to work or at home.
The legislature will convene a...
Tune into Daybreak on Arirang TV.
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said Tuesday. The Japanese government has admitted about 300 tons of highly radioactive water is leaking into the sea every day from the stricken Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. Following revelations of continued radiation leaks into the Pacific Ocean, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe directed his government to deal with the situation on Wednesday. A government official said that by December, the leakage would be reduced to 60 tons a day. The plant's operator, TEPCO, says it expects it will take over 40 years and $11 billion to clean up the aftermath of the disaster. The chilly relationship between Washington and Moscow just got a little colder. U.S. President Barack Obama has scrapped plans to hold bilateral summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin following Moscow's decision to grant asylum to the fugitive whistleblower Edward Snowden. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney says there was not enough progress in the bilateral agenda between the two countries to hold a summit meeting in September, and said that Snowden was a big factor contributing to the decision. But the spokesperson added that Obama will attend the G20 summit meeting in St. Petersburg early next month after making a visit to Sweden. The bilateral summit between the U.S. and Russia was scheduled to be held on the sidelines of the G20 meeting. A foreign policy aide to Putin says Moscow's invitation for bilateral talks with Obama is still valid. Egypt's interim leaders say international mediation efforts to lessen the deep divide between the military-backed government and supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi have failed. A number of envoys from the United States, EU, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates have been working tirelessly in Cairo to find a common negotiating platform to defuse the crisis. Announcing mediation had failed, the interim government said in a televised statement Wednesday that it will now start to break up protests organized by Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood. Around 300 Egyptians have been killed in protests since Morsi was overthrown last month.
And a good Thursday morning to you all as we kick things off in international football. Now, South Korea's Park Ji-sung recently finished his move to PSV Eindhoven, where he actually began his European career. And his salary with the team was revealed. The 32-year-old midfielder agreed to receive £1.15 million, or a little less than $1.8 million for the upcoming season with PSV. However, with the team's salary cap at £860,000 per player, QPR agreed to pay £300,000 so that the Dutch club can meet Park's salary. While PSV initially hoped for a full transfer, the team could not meet the amount that the South Korean was making with the Queen's Park Rangers. And staying in football, back here in the nation, the 2013 K-League FA Cup's quarterfinals took place on Wednesday with Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors absolutely crushing Suwon Samsung Blue Wings 7-2 as they advanced to the semifinals. Now also, Jeju United shut out Incheon United 2-0 with Busan I-Park beating FC Seoul 2-1. Now, it was the first time in 9 years that Busan beat FC Seoul at the Seoul World Cup Stadium. And lastly, the Pohang Steelers beat Gyeongnam FC 2-1, and those were your final scores. And now moving on to basketball, the final game of the round of 12 in the 2013 Asian Basketball Championships took place last night for Team Korea and was another easy win. Now South Korea taking on India this time, and this time around Team Korea does it with the three-pointers as they score 11 three-pointers on the night, shooting 48%. Now this including 4 from Kim Min-guk and 3 from Cho Sang-min. Now Korea takes this game 95-54 as they advance to the quarterfinals with the record of 4-1. And now coming up next for South Korea will be Qatar. And now moving on to some Wednesday night KBO action as the SK Wyverns took on the Hanwha Eagles. Let's take a look at the highlights. Of course, going into the game here, starting pitchers in the game, Baek In-sik for SK and Dana Evelyn for the Hanwha Eagles. Both pitchers doing well in this game until the 5th inning of the game. SK's Lee Jae-won sending one deep to right center field, a 2-run shot as SK takes the 2-0 lead. Still in the 5th inning, Park Ji-man this time 2-run double to right. 4-0 SK Wyverns. Now we're not done yet in this inning. Let's make this one 5-0 with a sac fly from Cho Dong-hwa. Now this game is going crazy. Next play here, a wild pitch by Dana Evelyn. This one scores the 6th run of the inning as SK takes a comfortable lead. And we're going to shift over to the 6th inning here. Kim Sang-hyun, solo shot to deep to center field. Back. Gone. SK now takes the lead 7-0. Now, Hanwha does get on the scoreboard thanks to Lee Young-gi's RBI single here, but SK still takes this game 7-1. And now next up, the Lotte Giants taking on the Kia Tigers. First inning, a wild pitch scores the first run of the game as Lotte takes a 1-0 lead. Next play, Chun Ju-nu here, 2-run single down the middle, 3-0 Lotte Giants. But guys, check out this next play here. Kang Min-ho at bat. Pops up in foul territory. The catcher makes the play. Whoa, Chun Ju-nu tags up, goes to third. Then an error by the shortstop has him running home, and he scores 4-0 Lotte Giants. Now, 5th inning here, Kia gets on board thanks to Lee Young-gyu RBI single as Lotte now takes a 4-1 lead. But now Lotte continues to swing away in this game, scoring 3 runs in the 7th inning as Lotte takes this game 7-1, your final score. And now other scores from the league. The Tucson Bears sweep the Nexen Heroes 11-7 in a slugfest, and the LG Twins also swept the NC Dinos 14-5. And now staying in baseball, but bet over in majors. The South Korean Lee Hyun-jin will be going after his 11th win of the season tomorrow. The 10-3 Lee Hyun-jin, who won his last 3 starts, will be going up against the St. Louis Cardinals, who are actually in 2nd place in the NL Central. And going up against the southpaw will be Jake Westbrook, who's currently 7-6 with an ERA of 3.48. Now, while the Cardinals are a great hitting team, they are weak against lefty pitchers as the 25-year-old hopes to earn his team-leading 11th win of the season. And now finishing things off in golf with the PGA Championships taking place from August 8th to the 11th. All eyes will be on, guess who? Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson. While the lefty Phil Mickelson is coming off of an amazing Open Championship victory, Tiger Woods hasn't won a major since 2008. But despite all that, the rivalry remains red hot as Tiger hopes to win his 15th major of his career. But now don't forget, there are still names like Adam Scott and Rory McIlroy, who, by the way, is hoping to defend his title as well. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. See you guys again for your sports needs.
Good and hot morning, guys. I'm Lee Ji-yeon with your latest weather update. Now, yesterday was pretty hot, but today we're gonna stay 2 to 3 degrees higher than yesterday, and that means heat wave sweeping the nation is set to hit its highest temperature today with sizzling sunshine. Now, as we can see, the heat wave advisory and warnings are expanded to much of the regions as the intense heat and humidity will continue to bring wilting conditions. So we really gotta stay safe in the heat today. Now, tomorrow we do expect rain in Seoul, Incheon, and Gyeonggi region in the morning hours, but that should taper out before noon, and sky will turn into much brighter afternoon by the time we are heading out for lunch. But whole nation will continue to reel under intense heat with hot winds blowing all the way through a whole time. And it looks like hot and muggy condition will persist till next week. Now, back to today's forecast. The humidity this morning will be 88% on average, which is quite sticky. And right now, low clouds are covering up the central regions, so we will be waking up to partly cloudy skies, but it should give way to plenty of sunshine soon. So with the sunshine, humidity, and temperature expected to hit the peak, it's gonna be hot today. And how hot we'll get? Let's take a look. Now, the capital will hike up to 35 degrees Celsius. That's 95 degrees in Fahrenheit, and steaming hot continues for Daegu at 37, and even Busan will hike up to 34. Now, for other regions, it looks like Jeju and Daejeon will climb up to 35, while Dokdo and Mount Kumgang will top out at 33. So it's pretty much wherever we are, we won't be able to escape from the heat today. Now, that's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for viewers around the world. Well, that's all for me at this hour. Enjoy your morning commute and have a wonderful Thursday.
those are the stories we have for you at this hour. Stay with us for more on the day's headlines.